So today we're just gonna talk about what I've been using consistently in the last 6 months to give me, what you would say, a successful growing reef. Yeah, it's not like crazy, but everything is stabilized and everything is growing for the most part. So let's get into it. All right, so let's start off with the major stuff. Well, before we get into that, as you can see, everything's aquaforest, and it's not, it wasn't a coincidence, I guess. It's not a coincidence. I started using their brands in the beginning. Like after I got their tank, I started like trying out different brands of their stuff, and I found out it's really good quality stuff. So as I went that, I started using their products, and then they seen that, and then they sponsored me, but it's not what you think as a sponsorship. Some sponsorships might be different where they give you everything and you're just like reefing on their dime, but it is not like that. So how it works is you just post certain things for them and then that you're already using, and then they might give you one of these or random stuff. So it's not like they're paying for my reefing. I bought majority of this stuff. Anyways, all right, let's talk about their balling method. So I went from, in the beginning, as you know, I use calcwater for like alkalinity, pH and all that. So I honestly couldn't get the hang of it using like the pump and stirs and all that, and I just felt like it was too much for me. A lot of people use it, have great success. So I just went with their balling method with component 1, 2, 3. And what you do is you dose to like pretty much the same amount of each one into your tank. And obviously you got to figure out how much you're supposed to dose to get where you want to be. So the main thing is you got to check your magnesium. So once you get your magnesium where you want it, then you adjust the dosing for these and everything should be good. So for me, it's not much. It's 12 mLs and of each, and I broke it down into like three different doses. So, and an hour in between, because if you dose it all at once, something happens and it doesn't work. So that's what I've been doing, and I got numbers for you guys. So alkalinity is around 10.8 to 10.4, and that's steady. I checked it for like 3-4 days, and that's how it's been. Calcium is in the 450 to 460, steady. Magnesium is in like the 1300 to 1360. That's kind of where it's at. NO3, nitrates, phosphates, that's not on this, but phosphate, I do dose Brightwell Aquatics Brightwell Aquatics phosphate, because this tank is like super low on nutrients. And then, or nitrates, Brightwell Aquatics, I think it's like nitro something. And then for phosphate, I don't do anything. I just feed moderately heavy, and that's why I keep that at where it needs to be. And it's at 0, so it doesn't matter. I've been feeding a lot, and the phosphates are just where it's at, 0. Nitrates though, I dose, I believe it's like 8 mLs a day, and that's sitting at 7.2, 6.8 to 7.2, and that's consistent too. So the tank has stabilized pretty well, and I'm happy with that. It took me forever. I know this tank is a little over a year, but I'd say this is my most successful reef tank I had. Also, these. So you got Aquaforest Build. It promotes growth. Aquaforest Aminos, Vitality, vitamins, and then Energy. This is kind of weird with the name, but it's like fatty acids that in this coral food for like filter feeders and stuff like that. And this one supposedly doesn't have nitrates and phosphates. So it's like a clean food for your corals. So this, I've been dosing 5 drops of each every other day. And I've been kind of consistent. I mean, life happens, sometimes you forget, and it's not gonna hurt. That's as far as like supplements. All right guys, last thing I've been dosing, AF Life Source. This stuff is magic. It's kind of like Miracle Mud. I think it's like the same stuff. So this stuff builds your microbiome in your tank. Corals love it. Like once you dose it, you will see polyp extension, everything looks fluffy. All like I guess it's the natural minerals from the ocean. It's in here because it's from, I believe it's from the Pacific or something. It's like straight up mud. So this stuff works really well, and I've been dosing it religiously like every week, once a week. But lately I've been doing it like every other week and lowering the dosage a little bit because mean, you're putting mud in your tank, so your tank's gonna get a little dirty. Like you won't see it in the water, but like when you're cleaning your sand, it'll come up. You'll see it like in the sand. And if you wanted that, if you're like strive to keep that white sand, you're always like mixing it around, stirring it up, like this is not gonna help your situation if you wanna keep super white sand. You're just gonna have to be siphoning that sand a lot more. One other way you could do it, if you have refugium, put in your refugium and use it like miracle mud and put in your refugium. That'll be another good way to do this. But I cut down on this just because of all the like stuff in the sand. It's not pleasing once you use it a lot, like for a long time. So that's that. Overall, I don't use much. It's literally this. These are on dosers, which we had a huge hiccup. Well, I'll tell you about that in a second. So I'm dosing these on automation, whatever you want to call it. This is probably the most like tedious thing because it's every other day and you got to manually do it. And then this, I cut down on it. So literally this is all I've been doing. Part 1, component 1, 2, 3, and these aminos, vitamins, and that stuff every other day. So, and I've been having great success. Everything's been growing other than, it's like your tank does so well and then bam, like, oh, stabilized, bam, 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 we're good. And then boom, something happens. Welcome to the world of reefing. But I found out what it was, the coral RTD. Like literally everything started coloring up or was coloring. Okay, so this is what happened. We're having a good month. Everything's good. Coloration's good. Growth is very good. Like things that are pink, green, purple, whatever you want to call it. Great. And then in my last few videos, we came across coral RTD and I couldn't figure out what it was. I found out what it was. It was my dosing pump. So the dosing container I have is 64 mLs. I think it holds a little more, but I kind of put it right at 64. All 4 of them, I believe it's called what, purging the lines, where you, not purge. You fill the lines where it's all the way up to where it's gonna dose. I guess it's purging. And then, so I fill the lines where it's like right at the tank to dose, and then I'll fill it back up to 64 mLs. So I know like, okay, everything's dosing, because I'm dosing everything, what is it, what did I say, 12, 12, 12, 12. So everything should be going down the same. So after I posted that video, I'm looking at my dosing containers and one of them is like, the middle one, component 2 is like halfway down, component 1 is like down, the other one's down, and this is when I wasn't like really testing here and there, and I seen like alkalinity, like spike, but I didn't come to think to look at my dosing pump and what's going on. And that's where it was. So what I did was I calibrated my pumps and filled them back up, and now everything is dosing correctly. Like each level and component 1, 2, 3 is going down the same. So I'm like 99.9% sure that was the problem. Something obviously was dosing way too much. And also I had an issue where, I think this was another problem too. There's like 2 problems. The dosing pump was dosing inaccurately, and then my lines kept popping off. So what I did was, a buddy on Instagram was telling me about, I think they're like Rainbird 1.25 little adapters, and those fit the GHL and they fit snug. Now the hose adapters that come on the GHL, they suck. They will pop off on you. And I don't know if it happens to everyone, but I like stuffed it in there and it still would come. I'll come home, look at my pump, and one of the lines is off, spilling on the ground. It's a mess. So I got that, got them real snug and tight on there, and now everything is just dosing correctly. So coral RTD, I did take some out and cut off the dead tissue, dipped them, and I used, what is it, Brightwell Aquatics, oh my goodness, Brightwell Aquatics Frag Recover. Stuff worked good for me. So what I did was I took them out, I cut off all the dead tissue, dipped it, and then put it in the tank and just hoping it recovers. Sometimes even doing this, RTN does not, you won't recover from it, kind of lose that coral, which sucks. So it was kind of my fault not keeping track of my dosing pumps. So if you're dosing things, always check them and then like calibrate your pumps, because you never know this stuff. So like super automation is nice, but you gotta stay on maintenance. All right guys, that is it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found something useful from my mistakes, your benefit. You don't do the mistakes I do, and keep on top of your maintenance. Okay. catch you guys on the next. It's too far away.